The Trump family's response to a simple question about Barron's beliefs stunned the world. But what happened next was even more surprising and showed their true character. The press conference room at Mar-a-Lago buzzed with excitement, reporters eagerly adjusting their microphones and cameras. Melania Trump sat poised at the podium, her calm presence a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around her. She had faced countless reporters before, but today felt different. Today, the questions would be personal. The chatter died down as one bold reporter asked, "Mrs. Trump, can you comment on the rumors about Barron's supposed support for LGBTQ+ rights? How does that align with your family's values?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew the Trump family had long held traditional beliefs, but this question cut straight to the heart of their private lives. Melania's serene expression faltered for just a moment, her eyes flickering with something unspoken. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before responding. "Barron is 18, Melania began, her voice measured, yet resolute. "He carries himself with integrity, just like his father, and I raised him too. The truth is, our family stands united. We respect all individuals, but we hold firmly to our beliefs." The reporters leaned forward, sensing something deeper at play. Melania's words hung in the air, unshaken, as her voice softened. "As parents, we teach our children the importance of respect, no matter the differences. But we also guide them with the values we hold dear. This is not a contradiction. It is love." The room was still. No one had expected this response. Melania wasn't dodging the question. She was giving a glimpse into her family's world, one that balanced love, unity, and respect for their beliefs. A seasoned reporter muttered to his colleague, "This isn't what I expected at all. She's handling this with grace." Meanwhile, Barron, seated in the back of the room, sat rigidly between two Secret Service agents. He hated the spotlight, but he couldn't help but admire his mother's courage. Off to the side, Donald Trump stood with his arms folded, his face expressionless, but his eyes locked on Melania with a look of intense pride. He didn't need to say a word. His silent support was more than enough. Before Melania could continue, another reporter raised their hand. "What about the accusations of hypocrisy?" Before she could answer, the door opened, and Donald Trump walked in, his commanding presence filling the room. A few gasps rippled through the audience as he took his place beside Melania and placed a protective hand on her shoulder. "Let me make one thing clear," Donald began, his voice booming across the room. "Our family has been the target of lies and smears for years. This," he gestured to the reporters, "is just another attempt to twist the truth. Barron is a young man who respects everyone, but doesn't compromise on his beliefs. Just like his mother said, we raised him to have values and stand by them. So, let's stop dragging an innocent teenager into your agendas." The room went quiet. Melania's eyes shimmered with emotion, but she kept her composure. This was the Donald she had fallen in love with, a fiercely loyal protector. As the press conference wrapped up, Melania and Donald walked off stage together, their unity unshaken. But behind closed doors, Melania knew the storm was far from over. Later that evening, at home, the weight of the day pressed down on the Trump family. Melania sat in the living room, cradling a cup of tea, while Barron paced near the window, looking out at the Secret Service agents patrolling the grounds. "Mom," Barron began, his voice steady but tinged with frustration. "Why did they have to bring me into this? I've stayed out of the spotlight for a reason." Melania set her cup down and walked over to him, placing a hand on his arm. "Because you are strong, Barron," she said softly. "They know you represent something they can't control. But you must not let their words hurt you. You know who you are." Just then, Donald entered the room, his tie loosened. "They're going to spin this into something bigger," he said, his voice a rare sign of vulnerability. "But we'll handle it like we always do." Barron turned to his father. "Dad, I don't care what they say about me. I care about how this affects you and Mom. I don't want to be a problem." Donald's voice softened. "You're not a problem, son. You're the future of this family. Don't ever forget that." The next morning, Melania's phone buzzed with an incoming call from Ivanka. It was unusual for Ivanka to call at such a time, and Melania picked up, sensing the urgency in her voice. "I saw the press conference," Ivanka said. "You handled it beautifully. But there's something you should know. The media isn't backing down. They're digging deeper into Barron's private life." Melania's heart sank. "What do they want?" "They want to paint him as someone he's not," Ivanka replied. "But I have an idea. Let's use this moment to show them the real Barron, his strengths, his values, and his love for family." Melania hesitated. She had always shielded Barron from the public eye. Was this the right time to change that? "I'll talk to Donald," Melania said. "Thank you, Ivanka." Later that evening, Melania and Donald sat down with Barron to discuss Ivanka's idea. Barron was initially resistant. "I don't want to be a pawn in their games," he said firmly. "You won't be," Melania assured him. "This is about showing the world who you truly are, not what they think you are." Donald nodded. "This isn't about politics, son. It's about standing up for yourself and your family." After a long pause, Barron relented. "Okay," he said quietly. "But on one condition, I speak for myself. No scripts, no coaching. Just me." Melania's heart swelled with pride. "That is exactly what we want." The following day, the Trump family released a brief but impactful statement. Barron Trump will address the public to share his perspective amidst recent controversies. This will be a private and respectful engagement focused on truth and values. The news spread quickly, and the media was abuzz with speculation over what Barron would say. As the day of the speech approached, Barron spent hours preparing, insisting on speaking without any pre-written material. "If I'm going to do this," he told Melania, "it has to come from me." Melania watched her son, her eyes filled with a mixture of pride and concern. Donald placed a hand on her shoulder. "He's more like you than you think," he said quietly. When the moment arrived, Barron stood in front of a room full of reporters, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I want to thank you all for being here. I never wanted to be in the spotlight, but recent events have made it necessary for me to speak," he began. He continued, speaking from his heart. "I respect everyone's right to live as they choose, but I also believe in the values my family has taught me, values rooted in faith, tradition, and love. The rumors about me are false. I have never supported anything that goes against my family's beliefs. But that doesn't mean I don't care about people who think differently. Respect doesn't mean agreement. It means kindness." As Barron spoke, Melania's eyes welled up with tears. Her son's words were everything she had hoped for. Donald stood beside her, his usual bravado replaced with quiet pride. When Barron finished, the room erupted in applause. It wasn't unanimous, but it was heartfelt. Social media exploded with hashtags like #BarronSpeaks and #TrumpFamilyValues. Supporters praised his poise and maturity, while even some critics admitted they were impressed by his sincerity. Back at the Trump residence, the family gathered together. Melania hugged Barron tightly. "You are perfect," she whispered. Donald clapped his son on the back. "You've got more guts than most people in Washington, kid." Barron smiled, though exhaustion showed on his face. "I'm glad it's over," he said. Melania shook her head. "It's not over, Barron. This is just the beginning. But today, you showed the world who you are. And that is enough." In the following days, the Trump family faced more scrutiny, but they remained united. They knew their path would not be easy, but they were ready for whatever came next. Through it all, they had learned that standing together as a family was stronger than anything the world could throw at them. Subscribe to our channel for soul-stirring stories.